Pesticides are used to reduce pests which result in increased crop yields. Types of pesticides include herbicides which control weeds, fungicides which control fungus, rodenticides which control rodents, and insecticides which control insects. The graph shows the types and amounts of pesticides used in 2001, 2003, 2005, 2008, and 2011. Herbicides are used more than the other types of pesticides shown. Insecticides were the least used pesticide. For the herbicides, more were used in 2005 and 2011 than in the other years. Pesticides can be classified as broad spectrum or narrow spectrum. Broad spectrum pesticides kill many different species. Narrow spectrum pesticides kill only the target species. Examples are shown here. Use of pesticides can lead to what is known as the pesticide treadmill. This is the situation in which it becomes necessary for a farmer to continue using pesticides regularly because they have become an indispensable part of the agricultural cycle. First, a crop becomes infested with pests and a pesticide is applied. Most pests die, but a few resistant ones don't. These resistant individuals reproduce, resulting in a greater number of resistant individuals in this population of pests. When the pesticide is applied again, it doesn't work as well, since there are more resistant individuals. This leads to the development of a new pesticide, and the cycle continues. Pesticide resistance occurs when a trait possessed by certain individuals in a population allows them to survive when exposed to a pesticide. Increased resistance can lead to increased costs for more or different pesticides, further increasing resistance, continuing indefinitely. The picture shows the red bugs are resistant to the pesticides, so their numbers increase. The graph shows pesticide-resistant species over time from 1930 to 1990. Insects and mites are more resistant than plant pathogens and weeds. But all three categories of organisms have higher numbers of pesticide-resistant species from 1980 on. This diagram shows how pesticides, in this case DDT, can accumulate in the food chain such that consumers higher on the food chain have larger amounts of the chemicals in their tissues. Alternative methods of pest control have been developed. Integrated pest management has the goal of reducing pest numbers to economically tolerable levels by employing strategies including the use of natural enemies, pheromones, sterile males, and reduced use of narrow-spectrum pesticides. The circle of poison is a situation in which pesticides banned in industrialized countries continue to be manufactured there. They're then exported to developing countries, used in developing countries, and exported back to industrialized countries as residue on the food. Pesticide legislation includes various acts and treaties aimed at regulating pesticide use. Rachel Carson is credited with bringing attention to the environmental degradation resulting from use of chemical pesticides in her book Silent Spring, published in 1962. Environmental awareness increased, leading to several pieces of legislation. The Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, FIFRA, regulates the effectiveness of pesticides. The Food Quality Protection Act sets limits on pesticide amounts in food. The Persistent Organic Pollutants Treaty, POPs Treaty, is intended to phase out the use of organic pollutants such as DDT and PCBs. The 12 major organic pollutants are listed here and referred to as the Dirty Dozen. Agricultural practices have a great impact on the environment, including habitat destruction, eutrophication, nutrient depletion, erosion, and excess costs. Habitat destruction occurs when farmland causes displacement of organisms that originally lived there. Eutrophication occurs when chemicals leach into soil and groundwater, or when rains wash them into streams and rivers. The nutrients such as phosphates and nitrates stimulate algal blooms, leading to hypoxia and death of aquatic organisms. Nutrient depletion occurs when crops incorporate nutrients into their tissues, essentially removing them from the soil. The nutrients in the soil must be replenished, usually by fertilizers. Erosion occurs when land is bare and wind and rain blow off the layers of the soil. Excess costs arise from the buying of seeds and fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, and machinery. The graph shows that farm production expenditures have generally increased. Sustainable agricultural practices are used to provide resources, maintain natural biodiversity, help build or retain disease resistance, encourage use of natural fertilizers, allow farmers to have self-sustaining farms that are less dependent on energy and non-renewable resources, enhance soil quality, and allow economic viability for the farmers. Sustainable agricultural methods include intercropping, which is a method in which two or more crop species are planted in the same field at the same time to promote beneficial interactions. Crop rotation is the method in which crop species are rotated from season to season. Agroforestry is the method in which trees and vegetables are intercropped. Contour plowing is the method in which plowing and harvesting are done parallel to the contours of the land. No-till agriculture is the method in which the soil is not turned between seasons in order to reduce topsoil erosion. The crop residues are left in the field, helping to reduce CO2 emissions and the amount of evaporation of water from the soil. Slash and burn farming is the practice of cutting down and burning tropical forests to clear land for planting crops and raising livestock. Since tropical rainforest soil is relatively low in nutrients, new land must be found every few years. This results in destruction of the rainforest, leading to higher carbon dioxide emissions in the atmosphere. This leads to global warming and climate change.